On 25th June 2025, in a quiet village in Banaskantha, Gujarat, a father lit the funeral pyre of his 18-year-old daughter. The flames rose, neighbors cried, and when they asked what had happened, he gave them the same soft answer again and again. She died of a heart attack. A tragedy, yes, but in this case, it was also the perfect lie. Because 42 days later, a single document submitted in a government office shattered everything. This case begins like a tragedy, but unfolds like a cold and calculated cover-up. A young woman with a bright future, a family with rigid beliefs, and a truth buried under silence, fear, and fire. My name is Sam, and this is the tragic case of Chandrika Patel. Chandrika Patel was 18, soft-spoken, focused, brilliant. On 14 June 2025, her NEET results came out, a score of 478, a massive leap from last year's 380. She believed the struggle was finally paying off. She believed medical college was now within her reach. She believed life was just beginning. But fate had prepared something cruel, something no exam could have readied her for. In a country where sudden cardiac deaths among the young have become chillingly common, no one questioned her father's statement. No postmortem, no suspicion, no investigation. Just a grieving father burning the body before sunrise, and a village bowing their heads in sympathy. But grief can hide in many things, including guilt. When an 18-year-old dies suddenly, the question should be why? Instead, everyone asked nothing, and that silence became the perfect seal for a crime. The first red flag, a body cremated within hours without a medical examination. The second, a father refusing to answer anything beyond a single line. She died of a heart attack. The third was the truth they never expected to resurface. To understand how Chandrika ended up on that pyre, we need to go back 4 months. 21st February 2025, Palanpur, Gujarat. Chandrika stood at the Palanpur bus station, waiting for a bus that simply never arrived. Hours passed, dusk turned into night. She had no way to return to her hostel. That's when 23-year-old Haresh Chaudhary, riding past on his bike, saw her standing alone. He stopped, listened, and offered to drop her safely. That one lift became the beginning of a story written by fate. The road between the bus stand and her hostel was long enough for strangers to become something more. By the time they reached, Chandrika had formed a good impression of him, and Haresh felt a strange familiarity with her. Before parting, they exchanged numbers, and then came the late-night calls, the long messages, the laughter, the comfort, and slowly, friendship turned into love. Haresh didn't hide anything, not his marriage, not his separation, not that he had a child. Instead of frightening her, his honesty made her trust him more. When people say love complicates everything, cases like this are what they mean. For Chandrika, love became her escape. For her family, love became the threat. A threat to tradition, a threat to their honor, a threat they believed must be controlled, and that belief would soon set everything in motion. 3 months after that first meeting, everything changed. 5th June 2025, Chandrika went missing. Her family panicked, rushed to the Tharad police station and filed a missing complaint. Her phone was put on surveillance. 2 days later, a signal appeared. Ahmedabad, then Udaipur, then Ujjain, Gwalior, Jaipur. She wasn't kidnapped, she was running towards the only person she trusted, running away from the only people she feared. On 10th June 2025, police finally traced Chandrika and Haresh to a resort in Rajasthan's Balasar. Inside a small room, they found the two together, exhausted, anxious, and holding on to the only safety they believed they had left. But safety ended the moment the door opened. Chandrika's brother Hira was with the police. He saw her and exploded in anger. Officers seized both Chandrika's and Haresh's phone, disconnected them, and separated them immediately. Chandrika was sent home. Haresh was taken to the police station, not for anything related to her disappearance, but for an old alcohol possession case. A convenient law in a dry state applied at a very convenient moment. The next day, 13th June, Chandrika gave a statement saying she wanted to live with a family, not Haresh, and just like that, the case was closed. But what everyone thought was a closure was only the calm before a storm. A case closes quickly when the truth is inconvenient. No proper questioning, no psychological assessment, no verification of whether she was speaking freely or speaking out of fear. The police had done their job on paper, but the story was far from over. On 21st June, just 10 days after the resort incident, Haresh was released on bail, and he did something that changed everything. He filed a habeas corpus petition in the Gujarat High Court. A habeas corpus petition is simple. If someone is being held against their will, present them before the court and prove otherwise. Haresh claimed Chandrika's liberty has been taken away illegally. The hearing was scheduled for 27 June. If Chandrika walked into that courtroom, she would speak the truth, and the entire family's carefully built narrative would break. But when the day arrived, Chandrika didn't appear. Instead, her family submitted a death certificate. Cause of death: heart attack, on 25th June, 2 days before the hearing. A healthy 18-year-old preparing for medical college dies suddenly of a heart attack, exactly 2 days before she must appear in court. No postmortem, no independent verification. If this doesn't raise questions, nothing will. Haresh was shattered. He traveled to Chandrika's village, spoke to the neighbors, spoke to the relatives, and every single person repeated the exact same sentence. She died of a heart attack. Same tone, same words, almost rehearsed. Something felt off. So Haresh filed a complaint accusing the family of murder, and this time the police had to investigate. Officers began interrogating the family. Most answered cautiously. Some avoided details, but 2 men stood out immediately. Uncle Sivram, cousin Naran. Their statements were inconsistent. Timelines didn't match. Events shifted depending on who was asking. One thing was clear: these 2 knew more than they were admitting. So police dug deeper, and then came the breakthrough from a phone that was supposed to be wiped clean. Every cover-up has a weakness, a loose thread waiting to be pulled. For this case, that thread was digital. When police accessed Haresh's recovered Instagram data, they found messages from Chandrika, sent on 17th June, just days before her death. She wrote, "They are forcing me to marry. I want to be with you. If I refuse, they will kill me." These words weren't metaphors. These were direct warnings, cries for help, sent in fear, ignored by those who should have protected her, and buried by those who wanted her silent. These messages cracked open the truth the family tried so desperately to hide. The investigation wasn't just open again, it was burning. This was no heart attack. This was pressure, control, fear, and a young woman trying to escape all 3. But the real horror was yet to come. As police dug into Chandrika's final weeks, a disturbing pattern emerged. After her NEET exam, she was preparing to return to her hostel, but her family had other plans. They took her to a cousin's wedding, not to celebrate, but to show her to a groom's family. When Chandrika realized what was happening, panic struck her immediately. She wanted to become a doctor. She wanted control over her own future. She wanted Haresh, but her father wanted something entirely different. Her father, Chandrika Patel, a former sarpanch, held rigid beliefs about family honor. He saw Chandrika's relationship not as a choice but as a defiance, a stain, a threat to reputation. He started controlling her movements. He took her phone, stopped her coaching classes, stopped her hostel stay, stopped her education entirely. To him, this wasn't punishment, it was protection, protection of his pride. Relatives joined in. Uncle Sivram accused her of destroying the family's name. Cousin Naran lectured her about shame. The walls around her life grew tighter, so Chandrika made a decision. She reached out to the only person she trusted, Haresh, and together they ran. A young woman leaving home isn't a crime, but in homes ruled by fear and honor, it becomes one, not legally, emotionally. In families like these, a daughter's choice is seen as a challenge, and a challenge must be corrected at any cost. Chandrika and Haresh traveled across cities: Ahmedabad, Udaipur, Ujjain, Gwalior, Jaipur, and finally Balasar. They filed a live-in agreement, documenting that they were together by consent. This one document proved she wasn't kidnapped, she wasn't manipulated, she was choosing her own life. But when police found them on 10th June, that choice disappeared. Phone seized, Haresh arrested, Chandrika forced into the police vehicle. Inside the car, She repeated one line, "Please don't take me home. I want to stay with Haresh." No one listened, no one cared. 15 minutes later, she was back in the place she feared most. That one moment inside that police jeep could have saved her life. Instead, it became the moment she lost it. On 24th June, just 3 days after Haresh filed the habeas corpus petition, a court notice arrived. Chandrika must appear in court on 27th June. Her father panicked because he already knew if Chandrika stood in front of a judge, she would expose everything. The control, the pressure, the threats, the forced marriage plans. If that happens, his reputation would be ruined, his honor shattered. So he made a decision no father should ever be capable of. When a man believes honor is more valuable than a child's life, he becomes capable of anything, even murder. 24th June, the night before the court hearing, the family tried one last time to convince Chandrika to say nothing, not to speak about Haresh, not to reveal the family's plan, not to tell the court anything. But Chandrika refused. She wanted her truth heard. So the three men, Father Sendhabhai, Uncle Sivram, Cousin Naran, agreed on a plan. If persuasion didn't work, silence her forever. That night, they mixed sedatives into her milk. Chandrika drank it, exhausted, unaware of what it contained. Soon she fell asleep. Around 1:30 a.m., when the house was still and dark, her father and uncle entered her room. They stood over her bed, watching her breathe softly. A child who trusted them more than anyone, about to be betrayed in the cruelest way possible. Her father placed his hands around his daughter's neck and pressed. He strangled her until she stopped breathing. To finish the illusion, they dragged her body to the storeroom, tied a dupatta around her neck and hung her from the ceiling fan, staging the scene as a suicide. At 4 a.m., they pretended to discover her hanging. At 6 a.m., before questions could be asked, before anyone could intervene, she was cremated. Cause of death, heart attack, supported by a fake certificate, produced by connections, believed by everyone except one man. She didn't die of a heart attack. She didn't die in her sleep. She didn't die because of love. She died because three men believed honor was worth more than her life, and now the law was finally catching up. The staged suicide didn't hold for long. Once the Instagram messages surfaced and once the contradictions in the family statements piled up, police reopened the case. Investigators questioned every relative present on the night of Chandrika's death. Some repeated what the father had said, some avoided details, but two men, Uncle Sivram and Cousin Naran, couldn't maintain their stories. Timelines changed, events shifted, excuses got weaker, pressure built, and slowly their version of the night started cracking until it broke completely. Under sustained questioning, both Sivram and Naran confessed. They admitted to drugging Chandrika, watching her father strangle her, helping stage the suicide, helping cremate before sunrise, providing false statements to police. Their confession revealed the full truth. Once their statements were recorded, police moved fast. Sivram was arrested, Naran was arrested. But her father Sendhabhai, the man who orchestrated everything, he remains on the run. A man who once was a sarpanch, now a fugitive from the law. When a crime is committed in the name of honor, justice becomes a race against silence. In most cases, silence wins, but not this time, because Chandrika left behind something the family didn't expect. Her own words, her messages, her warnings, her final attempts to survive. And those words brought her killers down. But even as the truth came out, one uncomfortable fact remained. Chandrika begged not to be taken home. She told the police she feared her family. She said she wanted to stay with Haresh, but no one listened. Police forced her back into the environment that endangered her life. They seized the phones illegally. They wiped Haresh's device. They closed the missing case without verifying her statement. Had they handled the situation differently, she might still be alive. Her death wasn't just a family crime, it was a systematic failure. This case isn't only about three men who chose murder. It's also about the institutions that should have protected her, but didn't. A young woman asked for help. She asked clearly, repeatedly, desperately, and the people with the power to save her looked away. Justice isn't only about punishing the guilty, it's about acknowledging the ones who failed their duty. Today, the case continues. Two men are behind bars. The father is absconding. Investigations remain active. Haresh still fights for justice, not just for the woman he loved, but for the truth she never got to speak in court. For Chandrika's family, the narrative of honor cost them everything. For Chandrika, it cost her life. And for society, it's another reminder that honor killings don't always happen with knives or guns. Sometimes they happen in silence, in bedrooms, behind closed doors, with a family name used as a weapon. Chandrika Patel was 18. She wanted to study. She wanted to choose her own future. She wanted to love freely. For that, she was killed, not by strangers, but by the people who were supposed to protect her. This is not a story about culture or tradition or honor. This is a story about control, fear, and the price a young woman paid for defying both. If there's one thing this case teaches us, it is this: when a society values honor more than humanity, it destroys its own children. I'm Sam, and this was the tragic case of Chandrika Patel. Stay aware, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.